The last time we saw Zach Charbonnet get the start, he rushed for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns against Miami. And it's such a complicated thing. I'm talking to the guys on the post-game show, Big Ray, Paul Moyer, Brian Walters, and we came to the conclusion that sometimes not having a bunch of experience is an advantage. And it's an advantage in the run game because you're going to do exactly what the run wants you to do. If you got a guard and a tackle pulling, you're going to get behind their rear ends, and then you are going to go when the space opens and run it 51 yards. Ken Walker's had so much success having the big play, the switching fields and making guys miss that it felt like he lost trust in the offensive line to make those blocks. Therefore, he's looking for the big play. I don't blame him at all. I don't blame K9. He's probably frustrated, like, man, I've been trying, but you know what? Now I'm going rogue and I'm doing my own thing. With Zach Charbonnet, Zach doesn't have those type of capabilities to where he can look right, look left, switch fields, flip over a guy, do a push-up, and keep rolling. That he just don't have that in him. So Zach Charbonnet was just doing exactly what the run was designed to do. But here's the thing, man. You're also getting better play from the offensive line. K9 hasn't played behind this offensive line when they're getting on bodies the way they were getting on bodies.
Best game of the year.
Yeah, so it's confusing because you see what Zach Charbonnet's doing. He's not doing anything extra. I'm just going exactly to the A. And these offensive linemen are getting bodies on bodies, and Ken hasn't played behind that line yet. Also, I think you got to factor in what Ryan Grubb is doing. He's figuring out his offensive personnel and what they can do and can't do. You remember that play down the goal line? They ended up running a play that they've ran a bunch of times, but they dress it up differently. Tight end to the right. He moves to the left. Now get in the backfield. Motion the receiver that way. They dressed it up in so many ways. Then he just handed it off to Zach Charbonnet. He gets to the outside. So there are a bunch of things working yesterday that I think Ken hasn't gotten as far as play with the offensive line, but I also think that Zach Charbonnet just got downhill and didn't try to do anything special.
You talked about one of the biggest factors being the offensive line genuinely had their best game of the season, and Zach was the benefactor of that. And meanwhile, we've seen Ken struggle at times behind an offensive line that couldn't get push. Tell me now what you make of the competition between these two running backs in terms of timeshare.
Zach should get more time. It's still K9's ball, though.
Right.
K9 still need to be getting 15, 20 touches minimum until Zach can put together a couple of games where obviously when K9 comes back, Zach's not going to get the 20-something touches that he got yesterday. Maybe he gets 5 to 10. But you're not just going to kick K9 to the curb off of one game. A big game. Don't get it twisted. 131 yards, 50-something receiving. My man was balling. But now you just have a combo. You look at some of the best running games out there. Gibbs, Montgomery. You got a combination back there. Lamar, Henry. Obviously, that's a quarterback, but you got a combination back there. We should see this as an advantage, not a controversy.
Look at the Lions.
Yeah, we shouldn't be talking about, oh, Zach needs to get all the snaps now. No, simmer down. Don't forget what K9 can do. K9 will take that thing 80 yards on you real quick. But I do think that Charbonnet deserves a few more touches, and maybe you start designing plays that fit what he likes to do.
Do you think that this game, and you mentioned his start against Miami, have shifted people's perception, maybe especially Grubb's, about the kind of back he is? Because I remember asking you, hey, do you think we've put Zach Charbonnet in a box where he doesn't belong? Like, we see him as this bruiser, and what if he's a slightly different running back?
I never thought he was a bruiser. If you watched him at UCLA, he actually made a couple guys miss. He's not the Barry Sanders break you down like a Ken Walker. He's that one move and then I'm gone type of runner. So, no, I think like most running backs too, they got to find their groove. And when you're not touching it, but when you're only touching the ball in goal line situations and you're asked to be a fullback, Charbonnet is not a fullback. That is not what he does. I know he looks thick, got them thighs and that neck, and everyone thinking that maybe he can get it done. And he did score an 8-yard touchdown from that fullback spot, but that's not what he does. So, and also I love seeing Kenny Mack get some touches, too. He looked good as well. So now you got a good problem.
Yeah.
You got 3 running backs. Now it's up to Grubb and this offensive line to allow these guys to find their groove and get going.
I have a couple questions for you from the Mac and Jacks text line, 253. They said it should be Charbonnet's job going forward. No ifs, ands, or buts. Sorry if it's not popular with y'all, but he should be. How is Zach going to prove it if he doesn't start?
That's not how this works, man. That's not how football works. You don't do it one time, and it is yours. You do it one time, and you know what you get? You get more reps. You show up on Monday. You're locked in during film. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're practicing. You're proving it. You're showing it again and again. he's going to get more touches, and he should get more touches. And K9 should feel that pressure. I think this is good for K9. K9 is going to feel the pressure of Zach Charbonnet and maybe be a bit more disciplined when it comes to getting downhill and doing what he's supposed to do. But he gets more touches. Man, how quickly people forget. I think Charbonnet deserves more touches, but Ken Walker has had some great moments for this team. Some couple good years with this ball club.
Yeah. Another good question from a listener, 619 from Cali. Is it just me, or do the Hawks do more power running with Zach and zone running with K9? It feels like the Hawks line is better built for power blocking instead of zone blocking, ?
Yeah, I think they do. I think because with Ken Walker, when you go zone, you can press one side and look for the cutback. That's what K9 is good at. They still run power and trap and all those pin pull type stuff with K9, but I think that with Zach Charbonnet, they understand him a bit more. And it's almost like, I don't want to say he's one-dimensional, but he's good at what he's good at. And with Ken Walker, he can do a little bit of everything, so they try a little bit of everything. With Zach Charbonnet, they kept it real simple.
Well, and kind of backing up the 425, mentioning the same thing I was thinking with pointing to the Lions. 425 says the Lions are doing exactly what Pete wanted when they drafted Charbonnet. You said, hey, what Seattle has going on right now, where it's like, oh, Charbonnet deserves more time, but Ken is still the starter, and that's a good situation to be in. Look at what the Lions are doing, right? Like having the 1-2 punch, having the ability for both backs who are a little bit, they have their own style and they have their own thing, but they can also complement the run game. Having both options is a great thing. You
don't want to run them to the ground.
No.
That's why you need that 1-2 combo. Look at the Rams getting Blake Corum a bit more involved in their offense as well. I think that I said it last year. This is going to be the new wave of the NFL. You need a 1-2 combo.